What's up guys, Eric here and welcome to the channel. In this video, I'll be doing a 1-year follow-up to my HTV comparison between Sizer, Vivid V2 Pro, and a generic brand I bought off of Amazon called Kisswell. I'll show you up close and personal how well each of the vinyls has done and answer the question if Vivid, who won in my 6-month comparison, is still the reigning champion between the 3 vinyls that are compared. So before we get started guys, just as a quick recap, what I did was I cut out and applied the graphics, each of the graphics to 3 different shirts. Those shirts I then wore each of them once a week, 1 day a week, and then washed and dried each of those 1 day a week. So let's go ahead now and take a close-up look at how each of the vinyls look like after 1 full year of use and wash and wear. From the left going to the right, this is the Sizer vinyl, this is the Vivid V2 Pro, and then this is the generic Kisswell vinyl. So we'll start with the Sizer. So overall, it looks like, generally speaking, it's held up pretty okay. You can see there are some break areas where the vinyl has failed or come apart or broken, and they tend to be generally in small areas like these thin tails here. You can see there's breaks and cracks. This one fully separated. There's a break or a crack in the little tail of the S here. Things that are like kind of weak areas, like the bottom here of this A, where it's kind of separated in half, and then these thin areas in between where letters are fat and big, and they held really well in the main large surface areas, but where they have these small juncture points is where they seem to have broken apart and failed. You have small cracks just throughout, mostly on the like smaller stress areas, but for the most part the Sizer has held it fairly well. The vinyl itself is still soft and it's pliable with the cloth, and it still feels soft. Doesn't feel hard or like it's plasticized or turned into some sort of hard plastic. So that's the front side. Taking a look at the back side, you kind of see more of the same here. On the big letters, the main surface areas where they don't have any like small juncture points like this M, like the C for example, is totally fine. But on the A here, you have a crack right there and a crack right there, and between the M, a crack there, and each of the small areas. But the large surface area ones, like this G and this E, they're totally fine. The thin letters here, they all look to be generally pretty good. Small cracking right there, where in this again small juncture points. The T maybe a little bit right there as well. So overall, the Sizer has held up fairly well. It has broken apart and failed in some small areas, but again, where the vinyl is very thin, or they're on kind of small thin stress fracture points. Taking a look at the Vivid vinyl, just overall, it's held up very well, better than the Sizer. As you can see here, there are little to no crack or break points here. This, even on the thin parts where the Sizer had come apart completely, it's still holding on very well with the Vivid. The vinyl is also still very soft like the Sizer was, and stretches and complies with the cloth. And I did a video on the stretch test, and so the vinyl's ability to stretch and then come back, which the Vivid had a very good amount of, seems to have helped it survive better than Sizer. And so even in the very thin areas where the juncture points here, where the Sizer had failed, the Vivid has not. There might be some indications of small cracks starting to form that I'm seeing up close, but that's really about it. Otherwise, this has held up better than the Sizer vinyl over the last year. Taking a look at the back, so we're going to see kind of the same stuff here. The big large letters that have no stress areas, perfectly fine. There's some cracking right here between the H and the A, but that is also, as I remember, the way the crack looks, that's more of it cut because I forgot to weld my letters together here. So there was already a cut right there, so that's really not even a crack. So in the areas where it was failing with the Sizer, for example, here in the M, it's totally fine, still solid, no indications of cracking. Same thing with this M right here. Looking at the other letters, and the small thin letters, everything is fine. Where the Sizer had a crack in the G, this is perfectly fine, totally intact. And very, very little indication that the vinyl is starting to fail after a full year of being washed, worn and washed every week. So overall, the Vivid V2 Pro has held up extremely well over the last year, better so than the more common brand name Sizer H. So now let's take a look at the last comparison vinyl here, which is the Kiss Will. And here you can see all sorts of failures all over the place. Not only is it cracking in the same areas where the Sizer was cracking, it's cracked more. Like for example, in this S here, it's cracked where Sizer had only cracked basically at this juncture point here, for example. It's cracked in two places in the same juncture point. The tail on this S has kind of come apart. This S tail has come apart here, cracks all over. And so basically practically in every letter of this Kiss Will, there's cracking and separation and splitting of the vinyl all throughout. But I also noticed that compared to the Sizer and to the Vivid, the vinyl seems to have gotten, it feels hard and kind of plasticky. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's like the vinyl got hard over time. And I kind of relate this to over time with, say, automotive vinyl wrap. It just gets the automotive vinyl wrap gets hard and kind of starts to chip and crack as well after years and years of being outside and in the sun. That's kind of what this seems like it's doing here after taking, weekly wear and wash. The vinyl seems to have gotten hard, and as it becomes hard, this is just me theorizing right now. As it becomes hard, it becomes more brittle, and therefore it tends to crack and break apart more easily than the Sizer and even the Vivid, where they remain soft and stretchable and pliable and are able to, instead of cracking and breaking when, say, the fabric is stretched, it just goes with it. So compared to the Sizer and to Vivid, on the front side, the Kiss Will has definitely done way worse and is definitely not as good, just looking at this anecdotal example, as the other two vinyls. On the back side, I'm seeing kind of the same thing here, whereas practically every one of the big letters up here have a crack in it, even the ones that don't have any like sharp juncture points. So for example, in the C, you may not see it in the camera here, there is actually a little crack right here in the curve. And this R, there's cracks here, whereas the Sizer and the vinyl and the Vivid did not. So every one of these big letters has cracking in it that I can see, that you might not be able to see in the camera, but I can just by my naked eye here. There's actually a chunk of vinyl missing in the M here, not just separated, but it's gone. Looking at the little letters, practically the same thing. So practically all the letters here have cracks in them, and they're splitting apart in different areas in the letters. The only ones that seem to be okay seem to be like this I is fine, and the 3 bars in this E, those, maybe this part of the H where there is no areas that could crack because that's just one single piece. And so like on the C here, there's separation there. So practically all the letters of this Kiss Will vinyl have broken apart. And again, I think that's because the vinyl, I believe, it feels like it, at least the way it feels, has hardened up, making it less stretchable and to go with this. And then if the vinyl can't stretch but the cloth behind it does, it basically will crack or break the vinyl, since it can't move or stretch with the cloth that it's been applied to. And so comparatively speaking, the Kiss Will did not fare very well. I mean, it started off good, as it seemed like it had a good promise for the price, but it was also the cheapest of the three. But one of those things where, there is some truth and you get what you paid for. So of the 3 vinyls, HTVs, compared in this video and the previous video, the Vivid V2 Pro still stands out on top as the one that has lasted and been the most durable, still looks the best, even after a year's worth of use. Alright guys, so as you saw in the final comparison, Vivid did come out on top. Tried to show you up close what everything looked like, and provide my subjective opinion as well. So I'm interested in your thoughts of Were you expecting Vivid to win? Were you expecting Decizer to win? What do you think about the materials? Have you used this before? Is there a different test that you want to see done? Let me know. Drop some comments down below. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope that this video and my 6-month review video, as well as my initial video on these 3 vinyls, has been helpful for you in picking a HTV that's suitable for what you want to do for your projects. If you did like this video, guys, give it some love by hitting that thumbs up button, and also boop that subscribe button and the bell notification button so you get notices whenever I post new content to the channel. I've got more videos on the way that I'd love to share with you. Thanks again, guys, for watching, and have a great day.